Hi, my name is Diane Costello. Thanks for joining me on this amazing journey. I'm here to share with you my journey in the world of quilting. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about my new tools and how and why I started on this path. So thanks for tuning in, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below.
Hey everyone, Diane here. And I know you haven't seen much of me on the camera. I'm not a real huge fan of being in front of a camera. My background as a photographer usually puts me behind the camera. So I decided that in my journey with quilting, that I would try to put together some informational stuff that I just wasn't able to find information on. So one of the things that I started with, just kind of a little bit of history, is I've been sewing since I was a child, like 10 years old, I think is when my mom started teaching me how to sew. And I did it more out of necessity and more out of kind of want or need than out of pure joy. And so it wasn't until COVID hit a year ago, that I brought out my sewing machine. And again, it was out of necessity. It was to make some masks for myself and my husband and some family and friends that just didn't have sources available to them. And masks were almost impossible to find. So I did that, and then I ran across some fabric that I'd brought back from Kauai, some beautiful batiks, and we're talking yardage. And I'm like, I just can't cut this up and make it into masks. So I decided to make a quilt, and I made my very first quilt. And I gave it to my husband the day before my birthday. So that was really fun. It's a twin size quilt, so it was a pretty big one. It's not perfect by any means, but it was definitely a learning experience, and there was something about it that I absolutely fell in love with. Since then, I have made 19 quilts. I've donated a number of them to the fire victims from some of the large fires that we had up here in Northern California this past summer, last summer, and friends and family for gifts for Christmas. And so now I'm working on perfecting some more quilting ways of doing things, matching up seams and getting perfect seam allowances and getting really, really nice matched up corners and not losing my tips on my stars. And all of this I am doing out of a 10-foot by 10-foot office space in my home. I have one of my newest items here is my Qnique 19. So I got my long arm the other day, like not even a week ago I've had it. I finished one quilt and am probably a third of the way through with another quilt. I have a lot of negative space on that secondary quilt, so I'm kind of in the process of designing that. And this is all set up on a cutie frame by Grace Company, which is only a 48 inch. It's 48 inches across, so it's not a real big frame. And it's a hoop frame, so you kind of have to move things around as you go. But I still have like 16 inches of quilting space up and down and roughly 36 inches across to quilt with. And I'm finding that to be kind of a happy place for me. So I keep putting together test sandwiches and practicing because it is very different quilting on a domestic sewing machine, sitting down and moving the fabric underneath it, to moving the machine over the top of the fabric. But I've gone from sewing out of necessity to sewing out of an absolute joy, and the feeling that I get, that it puts me into kind of a zen place, just the sound and the hum of the machines and trying to get things to work out right. And even if it doesn't work out right, it's like, oh, it's okay. I mean, I'm a maker. I like to design things. I like to put things together. I like to make things work. I like to figure things out. And so this is my journey, and I hope you can join me on this. I know on this channel in particular, I have information on my baby lock lyric. So I started posting a few things on that because I just couldn't find any information on this machine on YouTube. And then I also picked up my Juki, and I have the Juki TL2010Q. I have a couple of videos that I did that I haven't posted yet that I probably need to on the using the Juki on this frame. That's how I started. My goal was to go for a whole month to see how I would do. And I got to be honest with you, it's great. It's really, really great if your space is really, really limited, or you don't have the ability to be able to upgrade. But I found that the restriction of being able to quilt in just a 6-inch area wasn't going to work for me in a lot of the quilt designs that I work with, where the blocks are actually substantially larger, and it's a little bit harder to think outside that box and make that motif work within, you know, a 7-inch square or an 8-inch square, which is the center of the block, and to try to break it down just wasn't working. And then I had seen that Grace Company was actually having a phenomenal sale on their Qnique 19, and yeah, I kind of jumped on board on that one. So I had my Juki on this frame for 10 days before I purchased this one. I had quilted one full quilt on the Juki. It took me probably about 7 days, and not 7 consistent days. It was like, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes here, half an hour there, moving, shifting, you know. So it was like maybe a couple of hours a day off and on for a few days. So maybe a total of about 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours figuring things out and moving things around, being brand new to both the frame and the machine, working on the frame that way. And then, like I said, then I got this guy. And when I set up my first quilt on the frame for this, it took me a total of less than 2 hours. Again, over a period of a couple of days. It was actually, it was over a period of a day and not even a day and a half, a little over a day. I did that on Tuesday of this past week, and finished up the last row, which were a row of star blocks, 4 different star blocks that I wanted to do all differently. And then I had it bound and done within a couple of hours. So maybe a total of 2 hours on the machine, because the machine has a timer in it. It has a clock, so it clocks the number of hours and the number of minutes and the number of stitches. So I hope you enjoy. I hope to see you again, and I hope that some of this information will help you as much as I've learned. I hope I can pass a little bit on. All right, have a great day, and thanks for watching.